Okay, now that we're recording, I will call our meeting to order, and please stand for the flag salute.
Maybe we're coming on.
So can we please get a roll call of commissioners present?
Commissioner Scavdall,
Here.
Commissioner Levy,
Here.
Commissioner Mulder,
Here.
Commissioner O'Neill,
Here.
Commissioner West,
Here.
Commissioner Curriasi,
Here.
Commissioner McFarland.
Here.
Exciting, everyone made it. Director, do we have any agenda modifications?
We do. We're going to ask you to pull item 2E2 off the consent calendar. It's Humboldt Heritage Farm Management LLC. It's shown as being continued to January 16th. We're probably not going to have enough items to have a meeting on that day, so we want to continue that item to a date uncertain.
Okay. And then the supplemental for,
We have a supplemental for Organic Liberty with 3 additional conditions. There's a second supplemental for Organic Liberty expressing support for the recommendation to adopt the mitigated negative declaration and approve the project as recommended.
and just to clarify, that added conditions of approval, if approved and left on consent, that would just be added in there, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. So we got those, public comment on non-agenda items. Is there anyone in the room that would like to speak on non-agenda items? Please come to the podium. Seeing no one, make it to the podium on Zoom, please raise your hand if you want to speak on non-agenda items. Seeing no hands raised, we will move to, should be consent, yes, consent agenda. So I'll start off naming the numbers, and if somebody wants to see that pulled off of consent and talked about, please raise your hand. If you want to see it stay on consent, which means that'll be whatever the action recommended is, which all these are approvals, I believe. So we'll start, number 1. Is there review and approval of November 21st, 24 action summary? Anyone on the commission want to remove that? Anyone in the public want to remove that? No. Okay, item number 2 will be pulled per staff recommendation. Item number 3, Mystic Mountain Farms LLC conditional use permit in the Blocksburg area. Is there anyone on the commission? Commissioner Scavdall would like to see that pulled? Okay, so we will move to item number 4, Organic Liberty California LLC conditional use permit and special permit and zoning clearance certificates. Anyone on the commission? Yeah, that's the one with extra condition. Anyone in the public? No one on Zoom, so that will stay on consent. And that's it. So I need a motion, or I would like a motion for items 1 and 4, I believe.
Chair, I would move approval of items 1 and 4 on the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Any discussion? We'll do a voice vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. So now we go to public hearings, which we don't have any public hearings. So now we go item G, items pulled from consent. We would start with number 2, and that would just be, staff is just asking us to continue it to a date uncertain. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Motion. Oh,
Before I take the motion, I'm just gonna open up public comment. If anyone wants to comment on the date uncertain continuance or potential continuance, please come to the podium if you're in person. Seeing no one make it to the podium on the Zoom. Not seeing anyone. Now we can go for a motion.
I'll motion to approve item E2.
I'll second.
Oh, excuse me, with a date uncertain.
Okay. And
I'll
that's-
second.
You're good with that second? Okay, we will do a voice vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Okay, so now we are item number 3. Commissioner Scavdall, you asked for that to be pulled. Do you have clarifying questions, or would you like a full staff report?
I think we can do it with a clarifying question. I just am trying to make sure that we don't have some confusion on the water storage requirement. And I note that CDFW, their referral, noted that there were 2 50,000-gallon bladders on site that they wanted to have removed and replaced. I think as I read their comment, they were asking for a minimum of 70,000 gallons of storage to replace those bladders. The staff report notes that the bladders are 20,000 gallons each. And reads reads in the staff report, it says, if the applicant chooses to replace those bladders, they should be replaced with hard-sided tanks. And then the condition actually says, condition number 3 says, remove the 2 20,000-gallon bladders and replace with hard-sided tanks for 40,000. So I'm trying to understand if we're actually, first of all, are they 20,000 or 50,000? And are we meeting CDFW's requirement for the 70,000 gallons of storage by only replacing with 40,000 plus the 50 that were already there? So
We're
little
under the
confusion.
impression that there are only 40,000 gallons of water bladders, and CDFW recommended less storage than what they believed it to be. So we are recommending replacement with the full storage that we are under the impression that it is.
I think it would help if we, on condition 3, modified it to say, replace the 2 20,000-gallon bladders with 40,000 gallons in hard-sided tanks for a total storage of 90,000 gallons. So if we could just add that.
That's
I think
understandable.
that would satisfy CDFW's comment and be just a bit more clear. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other clarifying questions? Because, well, technically, we'll open the public hearing. We're gonna ask some clarifying questions, and then we have to open it up to the applicant if there's anything. And then, so.
I do have one clarifying question. I did not see mention of water storage for fire suppression on this. Did I miss that, or is that included in their site plan?
I'll admit I do not recall. Let me take a look at the plan. That may be worth adding as a condition.
Are there any other clarifying questions? Okay. So the public hearing is open, or has been open with the clarifying questions. There's no staff report. There was a couple clarifying questions from the commission. If the applicant's out there, they have the opportunity to speak on this or present on this. I'm not seeing anyone in the room as the applicant. Anyone on Zoom? Anyone want to speak on this project at all? Seeing no one move, I'm going to close the public comment and bring it back to the commission. Looking for a motion with Commissioner Curriasi.
Apologize, I do have a discussion item quickly. I'm kind of using this as a scapegoat to talk about it, but I'm sort of a question about process in general to staff. This is regarding the renewable energy requirements, and I've noticed in a difference across projects. Some projects will will have a condition saying a renewable energy plan will be submitted. And I see other projects where renewable energy transition will be achieved by a certain date. And I was curious if what the CEQA requirements are around this, and if all projects are required to transition, or are some allowed to just submit plans?
Through the chair, that's a good question. So it's not really a CEQA question at this point. There, especially for the cannabis projects that were under the first ordinance, there really was no requirement to transition to renewable energy under the ordinance or under the CEQA document that was adopted for it. However, over the years, it's been a very consistent practice from the Planning Commission to want to phase out generators. And so we've started, and this goes back probably 4 or 5 years now, requiring a condition that they phase out generators if they're using them and transition to renewable on-site energy if PG&E is not available. More recently, especially with some projects that have maybe more energy use, we have started asking that they submit a plan that demonstrates the energy budget. I think it's probably fair to say that we still could get a little bit more consistent on that approach. However, our approach has primarily been for mixed light and other types of cultivation activities that require more power that we see that. And so I think even given that approach, this is for outdoor, so I don't think that would be something we would necessarily recommend.
Got it. Thank you.
Any other, sorry, I skipped past the discussion part.
Oh.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the question because I have also noticed some inconsistency on that. In this case, it seems pretty clear that they shall develop and fully implement a plan by January 2026 is what I'm looking at here in condition 9. So I think here we have the language that would suggest that they have to actually do it, but I'm not sure that's always been quite worded the same. So
Any other discussion?
I'll make a motion
Okay.
to approve the Mystic Mountain project as proposed, with the revisions to clarifying the on-site water storage as Commissioner Scavdall had stated.
With the fire suppression or without the fire suppression?
It would be for a total of 90,000 gallons, with 5,000 of that, I think, being for fire suppression.
I think 2,500 is the requirement, technically.
Is it? I thought it was 5,000, 2,500 of that then.
Building code could be different, but as far as I know, it's 2,500.
Okay,
2,500.
stand corrected, 2,500.
Okay. And that's condition number 3 revised, correct?
Correct.
Okay. We got a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any other discussion? I will do a voice vote on this one. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. So, now we will adjourn as the planning commission, and then we have to convene as a building appeals board and bring up item J, building code appeal. And I will say, in all my years of following the commission and being on the commission, this is new to me, so I'm all ears.
Thanks. As the chief building official gets ready to present this, just give you a little background on this. In the building code, there is a provision to allow for appeals where somebody disagrees with the determination of the chief building official. And so in the building code, oftentimes that's a very technical committee for lack of a broad range of technical people within the community. The decision was made to give this assignment to the Planning Commission. And so the municipal code or the Humboldt County Code identifies that the Board of Appeals is the planning commission, so you're appointed to do this. That's why you're convening as that body. And in this particular case, the chief building official is designated within the county code to not only implement the Uniform Building Code, but also the Health and Safety Code. And so those are probably the primary provisions that are at play tonight. And this is based upon substandard housing. And so I'll let Chief Building Official Keith Ingersoll make that presentation.
Can I make a clarifying before we open this? Well, it's open, but is this similar to planning commission where staff presents and then in this case, the appellant gets 15 minutes, up to 15 minutes? Is
You know,
that how the process goes, or?
This process is actually not that formal.
Okay,
So I do notice, I believe that the appellant is on Zoom.
mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go ahead and invite them in to be a panelist. And so, given the fact that this is an appeal and the appellant has the basic right to, present their information, I'm going to invite them in to be able to present this. You can ask them questions. You can ask the staff questions. The building inspector that looked at this, Rob Edwards, is also here to answer any questions that you might have or that the appellant has.
okay. So same thing somewhere in that 15.
I would follow the same basic parameters, but I don't know, I would encourage you not to be really super strict about that.
Sounds-
If things are kind of going on too long, you have that discretion.
Thank you for that clarification.
Ask a clarifying question.
Clarifying questions, yes.
Are we the end-all of decisions here, or is it like the planning commission where the appellant can also elevate to the board of supervisors
No,
after?
I believe you are the deciding factor here.
Thank you for that clarifying question. That's what I heard the director say, is we're the appeals board all of a sudden. So, I will turn this over to staff now.
Good evening. Yeah, we have an appeal hearing here before you on a case for substandard housing. And basically, this slide here would be the topic, and it sets out the focus for the presentation. You're not sharing. I see it on Zoom. Yeah, it's on Zoom. Can you unshare it and then share it again? Yeah. And this will communicate the primary subject. And so we're communicating the primary subject of this appeal. The parties involved are Lucas K. Bodie.
Can we
and
pause
Kate
for just 1 minute?
Saki.
We got some microphones.
This is interesting because we've got this muted. Yeah, but we've got the computer muted.
So the mic is muted on it too.
Yeah. So much right. let's do, is it picking it up though, or go ahead and talk?
Testing.
Yep, you're working now.
Okay. Okay, yeah, we're gonna communicate the primary subject of this appeal. The parties involved are Lucas K. Bodie and Katie Rocky. The objective of today's presentation is to argue for the upholding of the notice and order of substandard housing in order to vacate. The appeal was filed on October 29, 24, and it's essential to assess the reasons behind the appellant's dispute within the context of community safety. We can kind of go through the pictures. As you can see, we have unsanitary conditions in the kitchen area. Yeah. And same area, kitchen, unsanitary, substandard conditions. That's the kitchen as well. And here we have a hazardous electrical panel where everything's open. You know, it could be an arcing hazard. Somebody touches a hot wire, you know, it could be very dangerous. It could kill somebody. And then we have the garage here. Yeah. And we have the garage. Okay. And we have the garage here with the vehicle and you know, different parts. You know, it's kind of a fire life safety issue. The residential garage is not meant to be like a S1 auto shop occupancy. And this is another area of the garage with similar issues. And here we have a bathroom fan pulled down, looks like. And more debris that are kind of blocking exit ways, and fire life safety issue. And more accumulation of items that, you know, kind of inhibit somebody from being able to exit a room if they need to in a fire situation. Similar there. And that's a bathroom facility there. Looks like they have some sort of a on-demand water heater sitting there on the ground. That's good. And they have a can light that's over the shower, which is a shocking hazard because it doesn't have the waterproof trim on it. So if you're taking a shower and water splashes up, you know, you can get electrocuted that way. And here in this restroom, we have a non-op water closet, and then we have the outlet dangling out, which is an electrocution hazard there as well. And that's showing a different point of it pulled out. And then there's appears to be, you know, some mold issue on the top that would need to be cleaned on the ceiling. And more electrical poking out that's a fire life safety issue. And additional electrical there, which is, all this is a health and safety violation. And the steps there, they just have a lot of stuff on top of that guardrail, so if you're trying to exit in an earthquake or something like that, that stuff can fall in and then you're gonna get trapped or you can't get out of the structure. And this is another room that has, you know, a lot of items there that are inhibiting being able to exit easily in an emergency. Similar items in this room as well. We have a gas fireplace that has debris on it and around it, which could be a life safety fire hazard issue. That's just other items. And here we have debris on the deck that's kind of inhibiting that door, you know, from fully opening. And more additional items in the backyard that are kind of encroaching on that green belt area. And here we have a pump, the sewer pump lift. They have it coming out and they're running a wire through the plumbing pipe, and it needs to get put in with an alarm and you know, put in the code to where it's gonna make sure it's gonna work. And there's another view of that. And then here in this picture, we have a foundation footing of that deck that's a two-story deck. And the footing, as you can see, has been undermined. They've dug around it, excavated around it, so it's kind of compromised a little there. And then in here, this is a room that's under the structure. All kinds of miscellaneous electrical, hazardous. There's a water closet up in the air in there. Yeah, that shows how you get in there. Another there, and then there's another footing on that deck, main point load of that, and it's been undermined and excavated. There's another picture of that deck. As you can see, the footing has been excavated quite a bit around that deck pier. Similar there, and debris, fire, life stuff. Similar there too, inadequate foundation on this one where they undermined it as well. Have some interesting electrical that's kind of dangling down there. That's definitely a fire life safety issue. And more of the same. And then there's a little better picture of how that was excavated. For some reason, it was that grade should have been up to where the only thing you see is the cylinder coming out of the ground. Same with that one too. We have extension cord electrical, you know, that's a fire hazard. Plugged in and rolled up like that, it could actually heat up and cause a fire. Additional items in the way there in the yard. More of the same there. And here, the foundation underneath, it's on a step foundation, and it's undermined considerably the footing in the crawl area. And this has some interesting plumbing, you know, this is all unpermitted stuff that's happened here. Water line and it's just more of the same going under the house there. And then this, you can kind of see that dirt line up on the foundation there has been excavated down, and which is undermining the structural integrity of that footing, which is holding up that house, the whole residence. Just more of the same. And here's where that water closet's sitting up on top of a deck, you know, and you have like a step to get up there, I guess, to use it, which is totally non-compliant. That was all unpermitted, unsafe, unsanitary, health and safety violation. And there's another picture view of it. And then here you can really see where that line that's underneath that footing there has been completely excavated down. It looks like they chipped and cut at it to make more room on what they were trying to excavate under the building. And that's more of the same. You can see where that dirt should be up, but it's excavated down. And there's the hazardous electrical for the lift pump for the entire house there. Needs to get updated. And so the property was inspected on September 26, 24 by Building Inspector Rob Edwards. The inspection was requested in response to a search warrant executed by the Humboldt County Drug Task Force, understanding the need to address potential serious violations at the site. The inspection revealed significant violations of the 97 Uniform Housing Code, the 21 International Property Maintenance Code, and multiple sections of the Health and Safety Code. These violations pose serious health and safety concerns and risks to the occupants and need to be addressed to the entire compliance with the safety standards. Key issues identified during the inspection include unsafe plumbing in the basement area, crawl area, and inaccessible bathroom that poses fire hazards, evidence of mold, dampness, appeared to be evidence of some rodent infestation, and structural hazards near the foundation. Each of these conditions compromises the safety and livability of the dwelling. Further hazards include electrical dangers from exposed wiring and unsafe gas fireplace conditions, along with structural concerns related to weakened foundation footings. Additionally, solid waste obstructing access poses risk to both the safety and sanitation, highlighting the urgency of remediation. It is recommended that the Building Appeals Board adopt the resolution to uphold the notice and order of substandard housing in order to vacate. This recommendation is based on the substantial health, safety, and structural risks presented by the conditions identified during the inspection. So in conclusion, the protection of community safety is paramount in upholding the notice and order will not only facilitate the necessary remediation of these hazards, but also contribute to the broader effort of maintaining public health and safety standards within Humboldt County. So I invite any questions or concerns that the appeal board members may have. This serves as a time to kind of clarify any issues.
Commissioner West, are we technically not commissioners right now? How would I address
Probably appeal board members.
Appeal Board Member West?
Can you talk a little bit about what happens from here if we uphold the order? The tenants have to move out, and then and then are they're given time to remediate all of the issues identified?
Yes, the issues totally can be, remediated. It just needs to be done. The vacate order was put in there as a safety measure, for the electrical was a big concern there. Fire life safety working in that garage. If the garage, caught fire, it would end up roaring through that place. So the vacate order would hold, and then the property owner would work to remedy and do all the corrective measures. And then they would call, we'd go out and re-inspect it, sign it off if it was good, and then we would release that order. And that's typically how it works.
No.
I have a couple questions. One is sort of a follow-up on my fellow appeals board member's question. I don't see anything in here about, like, criminal charges as part of the remedy for this. That's not what's being contemplated here. No.
Yeah, no, that's separate. That's separate. We were strictly there for substandard housing conditions as the building division for the planning and building department.
Okay.
Yeah, this,
And so what we're doing, what you're doing, has nothing to do with any criminal process.
no.
My other question, though, I certainly, I've, reviewed the materials, and there's certainly, it a number of times states that this inspection occurred in response to a request from code enforcement related to a search warrant by the Drug Task Force. I just was sort of curious what originally gave rise to that. Was there reports of, concerns from neighbors, from tenants, from anyone like that, or was this sort of an unrelated matter that led to the search warrant discovering this?
As I understand it, this had been a house that has been monitored for some time for drug activity and different things. And so they knew there were some standard housing issues in there, and so when they did the warrant, they brought us in the day of it so that we can address those items as well, separately from what the sheriff's department was doing.
Got it. Thank you.
So it says that the appeal was filed by these two individuals. Are they also the property owners, the tenants, or renters? Or
Lucas Bodie is the property owner.
okay. Were they the residents also?
Yeah, yes.
They're not renting it.
That was one of my questions. My other question was, are there any other outstanding issues with the county that we should be aware of, like delinquent taxes or anything that's relevant to this review?
Not that I'm aware of.
Are there any other clarifying questions? This has been opened up, so now at this point in time, the appellant, I don't see the appellant on Zoom. If the appellant is present, you can make your way to the podium and present.
Hi, sorry, I'm super nervous talking in front of people. I just got out of the hospital too, I'm sorry. To start with, the warrant that they came in on, so, I mean, if you really want to start, the police have been hitting my house since we had a tenant over 2 years ago who has no connection to us whatsoever anymore, and she actually went to prison, got clean, her probation let her off early, she moved to another state. No connection to her whatsoever anymore, and she actually left us with a $46,000 debt during COVID for the rent. And so we're not on good terms. And she, for some reason, they're obsessed with the fact that she is still somehow connected with the house. And they've come through probation searches and warrants, which I now realize I should have been more on it with asking for warrants and stuff from people because they don't normally give them to us. And this last one, I was luckily, or Dee Dee was luckily on it. And so I have I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm gonna give them the one that I want them to look at, that way I don't give them a whole stack of photos that aren't relevant yet. But yes, thank you. Okay.
There, just not to interrupt you,
Yes.
but there also is a mic and a chair if it's easier for you to sit
That would
versus
honestly
standing.
be easier, thank you so much.
And we can move all this out of the way.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. And then this is the chair podium, you'll have to turn that mic on. I'll put
I'm
those-
so sorry.
I'll put those.
Okay.
Did she state her name?
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. It's on, okay, wonderful. Testing.
Okay, so the one photo I don't have is a picture of our security cameras, which I can find it on my phone, is at 10, or I think it was like 9, it was well before 10:30, that they were already at my house, and they served a warrant that they wouldn't give us. And so everyone was in cuffs, and my roommate Dee Dee asked them for the warrant repeatedly, and they said they'd give it to her. So when they left, I called the next day and asked the police department, and they had no idea what I was talking about. I asked task force the next day, and they wouldn't return my call, which I repeatedly called them for 3 days. They had arrested Luke the day that they came, and I was stressed that obviously we were gonna have to leave the house, and he's been through a similar situation in Fields Landing. So I bailed him out of jail with the money, and as soon as he got home, the packet of papers they gave him, they had slipped the warrant in the back of the papers, which this I can pass around. It has no warrant number, but it also says it's for 10:34 a.m. on the date that they came. And I know for a fact, Lucas Bodie is also the only person that their suspect, or whatever they want to call it, when they came to the house that they were looking for. And like I said before, they've hit the house at least probably 20 times. I was already going to file harassment charges because it's gotten ridiculous. It's made our life pretty hard, and they have never found anything. I think a couple people have had personal drugs on them at times because we've all been struggling, but all of us are at Aegis right now, so we're all recovering and don't have drugs. And again, they came, and when I bailed Luke out of jail, they're not charging him now either. And so, yeah, that warrant, I don't think is legal at all. So I think the entry was warrantless. And even if it wasn't, it's a criminal warrant. They're not allowed to come in on a criminal warrant. And I thought it had to be an administrative warrant. And they have to ask you first if they can enter. If you say no, then they have to give you 2 weeks' notice and then serve you a warrant. And they didn't do that. They piggybacked in on task force again, because task force really has targeted us and really wants to take the house out of the picture. And so they literally, they brought them in, even though they've also been to the house many times and never had a problem with anything. This time, when they couldn't find anything like usual, they said, don't worry, we brought code enforcement this time, and they'll find something to shut it down. And so that is the warrant that they brought. So yeah, I'm trying to moving for the matter to be dismissed because it was a warrantless entry, warrant obtained later than it should have been, and also because there's no proper inspection warrant nor probable cause to believe the building was internally or structurally substandard. Present motion is to dismiss, and I have that right here. Thank you. I'm sorry. Would it be easier if I give you the stuff just in an order?
Oh, that's fine, you can talk and I
Okay.
can come and get it.
Okay. We have also been working with Warren Black already, and so we actually had him by probably less than a week ago, and he checked out the vehicles and the front of the house and checked it off. And I've been working with him on doing the backyard, and I thought we would be done today. However, there's been a lot of rain lately, and then I ended up in the hospital for the past 5 days, which wasn't planned, obviously, and so I have, due to that, need more time. And we've been working on the inside as well. It's just, it's obviously taking a little bit of time. My boyfriend is a contractor. He's built many houses around here before, and the people, I can't prove right now who the complaint is, but it's I know it's a gentleman on the street that everyone there on the block has a restraining order against him, and he has had a tiff with Luke's dad. It goes back that far. And so he actually squatted into the house and ended up suing her mom when his dad hung himself to get the house for cheaper. And he just, yeah, I'm not gonna go down that road. But he is the person that calls the cops all the time and began even all this stuff because they get sick of the greasy wheels. I realize that. And so he knows calling and doing that stuff or taking pictures. And again, I've filed for a restraining order with him. And because of that, I think my neighborhood can actually, as a whole, we want to make him leave more than us. So that says a lot, I think, right there. They're giving him a lot of power to run with just because he's annoying. Yeah. So then, substantial compliance, I have been complying with stuff, so I have photos from the front and some pictures from what's finished. I'm sorry, I know you just got up. Yes. And so now, the only things out front before the 3 working vehicles is a axle, I believe, that Luke is gonna make a trailer for, so the Mini X in the backyard will have a trailer to be moved because they want it moved off the property. I think there's 2 of every copy is the problem. Let me. I apologize if I put doubles in here. That's double, yeah. Thank you.
And those you don't.
These are doubles.
Okay,
I
beautiful.
think.
All right.
Like I said before, Luke is a contractor. His dad, Rob Bodie, was well-respected and good at what he did. They built many houses around here, including his whole family, his uncle included. And Luke is an intelligent contractor. He knows the codes. He built the house originally with the intention of one day making a basement in it. There was a small basement in it, but he expanded when we lost the place in Fields Landing, and we were homeless because we didn't want to kick out the tenant until she stopped paying us because I didn't want to lose the house. She was paying the rent at first. And then, so we made a small living area downstairs. And yes, the toilet and stuff, we put stuff in so it was up to some sort of standard quickly, but he's taken it out. He knows it wasn't up to standard to keep it there, you know? But, again, the cops have been in there multiple times and never said anything about any of it. So all of a sudden, it's, it's odd that it's a problem. But do not enter unsafe to occupy. So again, Luke has built many, I know he built Rex Bones, part of Rex Bones' house. I know he built part of Virginia Bass's house. I know that the person that signed off for the house originally is Keith. And so I have the original, the original I'm sorry, I had all day just today to do this stuff, and I apologize because I just got out of the hospital. But, I don't have that one right now. I just have the one for do not enter. But we can look it up. Keith is the one that signed off the house when Luke originally built the house 10 years ago. It's not that old. He also built the foundation. I don't know exactly the footing, but he went down deep, built a large foundation that goes all the way to the house next door. It's one large foundation. The house is definitely sturdy. He might not have done perfect precision because he's not, but he definitely knows what he can and can't do. And I don't think build a house or build a basement that was going to become a problem when he knows the codes already. He's been building houses since he was in high school. You know what I mean? His dad started the building trades program, and he's done nothing. He's good at what he does. So yeah, the allegations of substandard housing was made in part by the same county employee that signed off on the final inspection of the house when it was completed in 2012, Keith. Present final inspection notice, which I'm sorry, I did not bring. We are obviously willing to enter into a compliance agreement for any additional steps that the commission, commission wants to take to it with us. I've already been working with Warren Black, and we've been making progress, and I thought we were doing good, and we were doing it as quickly as we could. But, yeah, moving out of the house, I think, is unnecessary because it's not, I mean, we just had a 7.0 earthquake. The house is definitely structurally sound. He knows how to build a house, you know? And, I find that, yeah, just kind of funny that it's even. So then, what's this? Is that the inspection record? Yeah, here's the original inspection record card from when he built the house. I'm sorry, I forgot it.
Thank you.
Can you please pass the information that was given to us? Can we give that also to staff as it goes along, so that way staff is aware of what's being presented? And not to interrupt, I just request that council reads the last page of that warrant.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're fine, thank you.
And just a note, I'm not trying to hold like strict at 15 minutes, however much time you need
Oh,
to
I'm
present.
sorry.
Like, no. I'm just letting you know, like, I understand, so
Yes. Thank
I'm
you.
not gonna gavel you down at 15.
Thank you.
Yes, if there's, I just want to make sure that all of your presentation's done. Like I want you to give all your presentation, but there might be, or is it distracting if you're interrupted and
No, you're
questions are
fine,
asked?
you're fine.
Okay, so, Appeals Board Member West has a question, clarifying question.
I just wanted to make sure that I was following along correctly, that Lucas Bodie is the one who has construction background and who is also
Yes.
the owner of the
Yes.
house, right? Okay, thank you.
And he's my boyfriend.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
A follow-up on that, is he a licensed contractor or does he not have a license?
He's been a licensed contractor. We're actually getting his license back because of the situation, but he just stopped doing jobs outside, you know? And so he still works on his house. I didn't think, you thought owners could do that when, especially like owner builder, you know what I mean? I don't know enough about the stuff myself, but he's getting it back right now. I actually started the process. I just haven't finished it because I need to get some more money.
I guess it's a legal question. Do you have to have a warrant in order to do a building
So
inspection?
I don't want to ask any questions of staff, only of the appellant at this point in time, because I don't want to ruin their due process for presentation.
Okay.
Sorry to cut you off.
I'm pretty sure it is illegal. They need like I said, it has to be an administrative warrant. They can't piggyback in on a criminal warrant. And they need to give you ask you, and no one consents. And then they have to give you a 2-week head notice of giving you the warrant. I've had this already happen in Fields Landing, so I remember very well how that went. So this was, like I said, just kind of, I felt like very secretive with task force and thinking we wouldn't do our due diligence to figure that out, you know? Right. Well, and that's the other part too, the foundation, because they originally owned the house that he built, the house and the 2 houses next door. So the one right next door, the foundation is connected. That house has been sold to someone, and the house after that is the gentleman who screwed their family out of the house, basically. And the one right next door that has the same foundation, technically, if you were to condemn our house, you would have to condemn that house too, you know?
So it's a single foundation, but two separate lots.
I'm gonna let him answer this because he knows more about this
Correct.
than I do.
Do you have any more for your presentation?
I think I'm done. There might be one more person that wanted to say something, but that's it.
So as the appellants, I'm under the impression that you're Katie Rocky.
Yes,
And you are Lucas Bodie?
Bodie, yes.
Correct. So you are the appellant, so you are part of the block of time, and then any other members of the public are allowed 3 minutes.
Okay,
That's separate because they aren't named
okay.
unless, that's the way I read it, and I'm
That's
gonna
fine.
ask the director if I'm understanding that.
It is within your discretion.
Okay. That's kind of how I'm reading it, unless
That's
there's, so, but they do have the opportunity to come to the podium and speak, or
Right.
sit down and speak if
Thank
they prefer that
Yeah, I think,
And then after, the other clarifying thing is after public comment, if there's anything that's brought up that you want to rebut, say someone stands up and says all kinds of stuff that you don't agree with, then you have the opportunity to come to the
Say
podium again and, I don't know if the term rebuttal, but to clarify.
thank you.
You're welcome. So at this time, I'll ask any other members of the public present to make their way to the podium, and you'll be limited to 3 minutes.
Yeah.
You are allowed to sit there the whole time if you want as well. You don't have to get up.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Michael Acosta. I'm a friend of Katie and Luke's, and I just wanted to say I hope you make the right decision in this case. I think sometimes this county confuses condemnation proceedings with abatement of nuisances. Condemnation is when the building's falling on somebody, you wouldn't let them stay even one more night. If there was a fire or earthquake and a building was condemnable, where you had to give an order to vacate, you wouldn't say, well, the building's condemnable, but you can stay one more night, even though the roof might fall down, okay? The notice they got said that you have to be out within 48 hours. There's no provision for that. What this is a nuisance case. And in a nuisance case, it's not business as usual to order people to vacate. What the business as usual has been to find people or do it for them and bill them. It's not ordering people to vacate their homes. So this is not business as usual. This is an unprecedented notice that was received this time. And I've reviewed a lot of abatement notices. This was an unprecedented one. We also had the opportunity to look at an old nuisance letter from 2017, and it was a much kinder, gentler agency back then, apparently, because it wasn't called code enforcement back then. It was called compliance assistance. And the people would get a letter from compliance assistance. And they were given 30 days to respond, not 10 days or 2 days in this case. So it seems like it's getting more aggressive. And it's really about gentrification, about squeaky wheels who are trying to cause gentrification. That's the bigger overarching picture. It's not about compliance with this house. If it's feces from rats, if it's garbage, then ask them to clean it up or fine them or do it for them and bill them. But please don't create more homelessness in Eureka, California. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the public that wants to speak? Seeing no one. Anyone on Zoom? We have one participant. I'm not seeing a hand raised. So I will close that portion and go to the appellant and see if there's anything you want to add or clarify before we close the public comment portion.
Thank you. Yeah, sorry.
Hi, I'm Lucas Kane Bodie, and I built the house that we were living in with 4 other residents. Keith here inspected this house and signed off on it in 2012, I believe. And I agree that my dishes were dirty. Last I checked, that wasn't a code violation. And I feel like my Fourth Amendment rights are being violated. And there's I used to look up to the building department for suggestions on how to build a house, but I've lost all respect for how they're operating these abatements and people losing their homes because of lack of funding. It's sad. And I don't believe that this house is condemnable or in any violation at all. There's repairs from my, I was incarcerated for 8 months, and my tenant previously left a mess for me to clean up. What can I say? You know, I'm working on it. Yeah. Majority of these, my dishes are clean and the backyard is getting cleaned up. I don't know. It's
Is there anything you would like to add?
Like I said, we are working with Warren Black. We've cleaned up the front, he checked it off. And in the warrant, the picture that they have to come to the house for it being not up to standard is a picture that is up to standard. So I find that very funny too. But, yeah, that's it pretty much. I'm sorry.
Are there any clarifying questions for the appellant? Okay, so at this time, I will close public comment, and I'll actually, because of the being brought up that the Fourth Amendment rights were being violated, and then also the warrantless search, and I didn't go to law school, but I did read that last page of the warrant, which I just want to see what legal interpretation of those are before we proceed any farther in the hearing, because I don't want to violate anyone's rights.
Chair, if it would be acceptable to you, there are a number of things I think we want to respond to, but I'd
Okay.
like to see if you'd be willing to take a break and allow us to formulate our thoughts.
I would
Be able to
love,
do
I
that.
think it would be appropriate, like, to take a 10, maybe 15-minute break, so that way we can have a real thoughtful presentation. If it's deemed that we need to continue or anything like that, I think that would be the intelligent thing to do. The Building Appeals Board is on a 10-minute recess, which may go to 15 minutes.
You can pick that up. I need to get a bottle of water or something.
And then, once the building official will come.
Recording in progress.
Okay, so I'm bringing us back at 7:35 p.m. We have lost the one attendee that was following us on Zoom. But staff, I will turn it over to you now.
Okay. I apologize if the explanation I'm going to give is a little bit, well, if it's a little confusing. So ask questions, and I apologize. This is a really interesting situation and one that I've never encountered or thought about. And so we're going to try to muddle through a little bit and give you the best advice we can. This search warrant says on its last page, any information obtained through the execution of this warrant that is unrelated to the objective of the warrant shall be sealed and shall not be subject to further review, use, or disclosure absent an order from the court. The warrant doesn't specifically define what is the objective of the warrant, but it's a search warrant, and it checks certain boxes for the kinds of evidence that it's going to go search for. But then it includes this language. It says officers shall be allowed to bring other government agencies onto the property, including members of Humboldt County Code Enforcement Office. This will be for the purpose of examining the residence for violations of building codes, as there have been numerous violations visible during previous search warrants. So the court has authorized code enforcement or other government officials to inspect. Whether that means it's part of the objective of the warrant and therefore usable, I think is really unclear. I also think that because there is an inspection warrant process and a statute that requires notice or an attempt to get consent, and then pleading to the court that you were unable to, or that it would be fruitless to try, that a search warrant or an inspection warrant for the purposes of looking at these codes contemplates a level of notice that a criminal search warrant doesn't. So for those reasons, we appreciate the fact that this appeals board is in kind of a weird position, being asked to make findings on evidence that I think is cloudy at best. In a criminal proceeding, they would say, you know, fruit of the poisonous tree is poisonous. If the search warrant is bad, so is the evidence. That doesn't really apply to an administrative proceeding like this. I think technically you wouldn't be violating anybody's specific rights to move forward. However, we appreciate that that is probably not ideal or what you'd want to do. To further kind of complicate this, the only thing that's really before the board right now is whether or not these violations exist and whether they threaten life, limb, or well-being of the occupants. And so, you know, to continue this out or to not make that finding is a safety matter that you kind of have to balance against these evidentiary issues. What we think is the best is to go get an inspection warrant and do it over again. And I guess whether to continue this matter or just drop it altogether would be maybe, what do you want to do, John? Just drop it?
I would say it would be dropped because it would be beginning a new process all over again. And if that were appealed, that would come back under a separate appeal.
So what I'm hearing is it'd be best if we don't take any action, or are you asking us to take action to drop it?
I think we would be withdrawing, the county would be withdrawing its order. Yeah.
Okay, so at this time, what I'm hearing staff is, the staff is withdrawing its order. Okay. Any clarifying questions?
Yeah, in terms of the process, should there be another appeal, I would put or propose that images that are offered during a presentation, excuse me, images that are offered during a presentation be provided to the board in paper form rather than posted publicly, both on TVs and on Zoom, because we're entering a person's home. So I would like to suggest that change in process be made.
That would, oh, never mind, I'm not gonna.
I will try to respect that a little bit, but part of the struggle that in asking the Board of Appeals in this case to make a decision, it's important for you to understand and to see, and for everybody who's watching to understand what you're struggling with, what the violations are. And unfortunately, it is in somebody's home. We're not insensitive to that.
The only thing I wanted to add to that is I hear you, but I don't want us to be taking away someone's right to participate electronically or via Zoom unless we had an order to make it only in person. And then they're technically allowed that evidence as well. So it's.
So one wrinkle, it doesn't necessarily solve that issue, but
while the planning commission is governed by the Brown Act, the appeals board really isn't. And so, while it's still a public proceeding, it doesn't necessarily need to be broadcast, or the records produced here don't necessarily need to be disclosed outside of the proceeding. So maybe there's just some work about procedure of the appeals board as kind of an adjudicatory body that we can ponder between now and when an issue comes back up.
Okay.
I'm actually somewhat relieved to not have to make what would be a really difficult decision tonight, and a pretty impactful decision for the folks that are living in the house. That said, I hope that they take note that there's some pretty serious deficiencies in that home. The electrical system, and I think the building official was generous in saying that there's just a cover off of the panel, and there's some things that, and some exposed wiring. You know, there's wiring tapped into a 50 amp breaker that I can see there that shouldn't be there. There's some foundation issues on that house, and you have some cracking around some of those column supports, and you have some plumbing issues. So hopefully these things can be resolved and repaired, and you don't, and it doesn't end up back here. But so that would be a great outcome, I think, for everybody. So sometimes maybe a technicality can turn into a little bit of a windfall and an opportunity. So I hope that's the outcome here.
Any other comments?
This is an awkward question, but the appeal, did the appeal cost the appellant money to file?
Yes. Yes, it did.
How does the county withdrawing the appeal impact that?
Understand where you're going with that. We'll look into that. I really wasn't expecting this.
Yeah.
We've never encountered a situation where we go out on criminal warrants frequently and have never run into this.
I have something to say, and I agree with Ivor. I'm glad we didn't have to make a decision, but based on the evidence that was presented to us, you need to take it very seriously. And the fact that you come from a construction background and have knowledge of proper construction techniques, you have to know that what we saw in those pictures was not okay. And so take it very seriously, because I don't want to see you back here. I don't want to see anybody homeless, but you know, it sounds like that, you know, you've had some health issues and other issues that you've been challenged with, and I understand and I respect you for working on those issues, but take it seriously, and, you know, we don't want to see you back here again, okay?
Any other discussion? So staff has withdrawn the original notice, so thank you for deliberating, and I appreciate you getting the evidence and everything that was presented and taking the sidebar and making sure that we get the answer that we need to move forward properly and not potentially violate anyone's rights. I like to use that word potentially instead of violate. And so at this time, I will adjourn the Building Appeals Board, and we get to put our commission hats back on and reconvene as Planning Commission and report from planner.
Sheriff, there was something I wanted to talk about. It's not in my head anymore. So
Okay. There was a lot of things that kind of came at you sideways a little bit ago, so totally understand it.
That's the question?
Commissioner West, or Commissioner Aiken.
You briefly mentioned potentially not having a meeting in January.
At the January 16th meeting, yes.
Okay, and we wouldn't have our first meeting of the month either, correct?
Second is after the New Year's holiday.
Right, so that is correct. So yes, no meeting in January.
If I may, it's okay to bring up about well, I sort of feel like everybody else should sort of be on notice in case they're not. Sorry, I just, we have a sort of awkward process, it seems, around at-large commissioners being reappointed. As I understand it, Commissioner West's term ends on January 31st of 2025. And then the practice is for the board at that time to list the opening and keep it open for 30 days, I believe, to see who might apply, which I don't really understand why it has to be done that way. And it means that we lose one commissioner for that month, a little bit, possibly a little bit more than a month. And then they have their meeting to decide it. And in this case, I just want to note that we actually elected her as vice chair. So we just have to sort of be aware that that's coming in February, that we would have a gap when I guess she will not be with us. So,
Commissioner Levy, thank you for that reminder. I had committed to looking into that.
I forgot about it last year. I mean, since this came up last time, I was like, we should try to tweak the timing so maybe that's not happening that way or something.
Yes. I've not gotten a clear answer on why it's done like that. I thought it was originally done on case law, and then that was rolled back. So I'm not sure if it's just one of those things that we've always done it that way or what it is.
Yeah, okay. Well, thanks.
We actually have Ivor, Thomas, and Noah expiring Jan 31st, 2025 as well.
Okay.
But they get reappointed by their respective
If we
supervisors.
do. I mean, that's instantaneous, assuming they do reappoint us. There's no delay.
Okay.
So, but never know.
I think we do.
Anything under report from planner? Planning commission discussion items, anyone have anything? Well, I was going to announce that, hey, I won't see you in January because my son's basketball schedule came out and I would be missing some meetings because I do want to see his sporting events. But I guess it'll be a coin flip when that first February comes up, and I'll kind of look at his schedule and where he's at and had a conversation with him. He did tell me this morning that I could probably miss one of his games. So it'll be a conundrum. With that, I'm going to adjourn us with my last meeting as chair at 7:50.
Okay.
Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.